high school is not as difficult as you might think. Some people have overthought the process, but it can be done, and it can be done successfully. Let me tell you, I'm here to help you through the process. I'm going to give you several tips of what you can do to make it through these high school years with a breeze. Hi, I'm Kizzy, Staten Gray, and I'm going to help you rock out your high school years for homeschooling. Listen, I'm a certified life coach. I am a homeschool mom of 5 children. I have graduated 2 of my children already, and I have 3 more to come through the process. We have been homeschooling for over 11 years now. I am a veteran homeschool mom, obviously. I have worked as an educator for over 25 years and through employment. So I've worked in private school, public school, Montessori school, and I have been educating for a very long time, even before I had my own children. So I just want to give you some pointers of what you can do to rock your home. Quick pointers for homeschooling your high schooler. First, give them a voice in their own curriculum. Help them, let them choose. I know for my daughter, I had selected a specific curriculum for her, and she was adamant about choosing something different because she said it worked well for her. She loved the simplicity of it, and it was just a better choice for her. Number 2, give them a choice in their learning environment. You may want them to work at the table with you or in a homeschool room if you have one, but if they feel better comfortable working at their desk in their room, let it be. Number 3, don't overschedule. Okay, a schedule can get so busy as a high schooler, and they're driving now, there's a lot going on. You don't want them to be overtaxed, okay? Number 4, let them embrace their passions. If they love dance, if they love robotics or technology, and they want to do coding, what have you, let them embrace that. And number 5, help them to find ways to volunteer in their community. That's so essential, especially on their transcripts. For my children, I had them do volunteer work in an inner city reading program to help youth after school read. That was one of the things that they've done. They did volunteering at a local food pantry. Also in the senior community, we did a lot of volunteer work with the senior citizens. It's great for them to have their interaction with the older generation, being sensitive to their needs at a slower pace, being able to give back is a beautiful thing. Number 6, hold them accountable for completing their tasks. Don't let them off the hook. The world isn't going to let them off the hook when they get jobs and they go out into the real world. They will have to be held accountable, so start now at home. Number 7, treasure the last days. The time is fleeting. You won't get this time again. They're about to be adulting. They're about to leave the home, go to college or what have you. Listen, take the time to embrace this special time that you have together. Before starting each school year, I'd like to go over with my student what they want to accomplish. Go over their goals. Let them lay out what their expectations are, as well as what I have for them to do. For me and my household, we build on character development. That's huge for our family, working on honesty, generosity, positive attitudes, respecting authority, independence, and their emotional stability, okay? EQ, in my opinion, is more important than IQ, because you can always learn at any time, but how well are you able to function with what knowledge you already know? Another thing is, for me, that's major, outside of regular skills and study, is life skills. So we do a lot on that. It's a huge focus on life skills. So it's not just cooking and sewing, your regular home economic things, but we've also had our kids take home buying seminars so that they know about what it takes. I also had them instrumental in choosing the home we live in now. They shopped it out, they scheduled the appointments with the realtor, they knew what our budget was, they did the whole thing from beginning to end. So they were able to see their fruition now living in it, of their work and their research and their study. All right, so we did agriculture is big for us as well, because we have a huge garden, like 75 by 150 feet or so, and we're raising livestock, and just the gardening process is a level of science that they couldn't get just from a textbook, but they can get more hands-on, and we credit that towards their credits in the long run. Also, changing tires, changing the oil, repairing lawnmowers and chainsaws, and cutting down trees and building things, small building projects and assignments. Those are important to me, as well as, just doing that research. So I have them doing all of those things. Other skills too that are common, just typical typing skills, computer skills, people skills, public speaking, research. Those are really important to their development. So I do a lot of focusing on life skills. Some people are heavy on academics, and I'm thankful for what my children know, but I wasn't as heavy on academics as some people are. I did keep them accountable and make sure that they did their work well and that they were very knowledgeable of the subject matter. But it was more important to me for character development, life skills, and things like that, and setting our goals, and having that mindset to work through the difficulty, and having them be the lead learner and take advantage of and onus of their school year. That's so important to me, and I think that they're doing well. Both of my kids just made straight A's this past semester. One is a 4.0 and is in the Honor Society, National Honor Society, is about to graduate in a couple of months here. I have another one who is a sophomore at Old Dominion University. So they're doing well. They have worked all the way through school. They're paying for their own college and whatever student loans that they get. That is not, part of what I do. That is fully on their responsibility. People feel different about what they want to do in their household, but that's how we're doing it here. So they do the research, they find the school, they fill out the applications, they set the schedule, the tours, all of what they do to get into college is completely on them. That is none of my doing. I might go with them, I might transport them there, but ultimately they have to make the decision. They sign the paperwork, they're doing it all. So I think them taking leadership in that, they can definitely own the experience and the cost of being part of the school and getting the grades, and I think they're doing well. So I'm pleased with their progress and what they're doing so far. So it's not important to me that it's just heavy academics is all I'm saying. You can do the other things and they can still thrive, okay? And so I want to encourage about homeschooling. You want to start with the bigger picture, okay? Start with the big picture in mind and work your way backwards, all right? So think about your end goals. If your end goal is to go to college or a technical school or what have you, then you want to start with what those requirements are so that you know how to best strategically schedule their schoolwork, their lesson plans, what courses they're going to take, which ones are going to matter for the coursework that they're going to do for their graduate studies and their degree. So work your way back. So if you know they're going to a community college or a university, then you want to see what those entry-level courses are, or also check with your state to see what the requirements are for graduating a high schooler. I know in my state we need 22 credits. So, and that's 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math, which will, if you can go beyond that if they're going to go for something like engineering or what have you, but if they're going to go a higher entry level in college. However, if they're just going to go for arts, then they may not need to have so many credits, but stick with the state guidelines for your area, wherever you're from. They're also going to need science, 3 credits, which in my state, or what we do is physical science, bio science, and lab sciences. So when you do those three, you might do physical science, biology, chemistry. Also foreign language, you need 2 credits for that where I am in the state of Virginia. And history, you need 3 credits, and so we will do U.S. history, world history, and of course government. You would check with your state guidelines to see what's applicable to your vicinity. All right, health and physical education, we need 2 credits for. Economics and personal finances, we need 1 credit. And electives, we need 4 credits. Electives can be a number of things, of course, any of those. Talking about credits, I'm talking about the standard Carnegie unit, all right? And according to your state regulation, you can look it up, all right, to see what it is required for your state. But in most states, it's 120 hours of instruction, which is equivalent to 1 credit. And so you can take, most courses will be 1 credit for the full year. However, if you do half credits, that might be 1 semester. So you get to decide, how you want to weigh that out, how that works in your household, in the grand scheme of things in terms of their graduate coursework in their entry level into college, depending upon their degree, what their interests are, and what they're going for. But high school credits can be earned before high school as well. So if you are watching this and you not quite started high school, homeschool, but you're interested in what are some of the requirements, it's good for you to start ahead of time and plan in advance, because even in middle school now, you can get high school credit before you even start. So some states as young as 7th grade, but in most states, 8th graders can take courses that will be a credit to their high school. All right, so you want to check with your. Also, if you're not so sure you're going to finish out the entire process of homeschooling, you definitely want to consider what it would be if you decided to transition back to school, to a public school or a private school. Because what you can find if you don't do the research, and if you're not so sure you're going to stick with it all the way through, you want to make sure that those credits that you have given your student will transfer back to the public school system or private school, because not always, unfortunately, they're not accepted unless you're doing an accredited program, okay? So they will accept accredited program study work, okay? So definitely want to double check that, because if you don't do it and you transfer your child back to school, you could be greatly disappointed to find that they don't accept it, therefore your child will not graduate on time. So look into that, and that's if you're unsure about whether or not you're going to homeschool to the end, all the way through. All right, so there are advantages of doing both. I have a friend who also homeschools her children, but she allows them to go to public school for 2 courses. They have to do a minimum of 2 courses in order to participate in their extracurricular activities like track and field and things like that. They have to be enrolled for at least 2 classes. So each family is dynamically different, so you want to explore what's best for your household. This is a tailor-made thing, all right? Homeschooling is tailor-made, so it's not any 2 homeschool families alike. They all vary in all kinds of levels and dimensions, so you're not trying to customize yours to be a cookie cutter replication of someone else's, right? So you want to do what's best for your child, their pace, their interests, their skill set. Homeschool curriculum. Some people use a number of things. We started off using Abeka because my children were in private school. When we first started homeschooling, they were in grades 3 and 4, 3rd and 4th. And so we started because they were already using Abeka. I was very familiar with it from also teaching in a private school sector. They were familiar with the textbooks, and so we just easily transitioned using that same coursework throughout the school years until we joined a community, a homeschool community called Classical Conversations. When we did that, became a director in the program, and we started using other curriculum. But some of the other things that we have used are Saxon for math, Matthew C, teaching textbooks, Apologia, a number of My Father's House, a number of curriculum that we've used over the years. And honestly, I have purchased things that were either at a used curriculum sale on Facebook Marketplace, on different outlets to get that discounted rate, because I have a large family and curriculum can be heavy on the budget. So I'm always going to be as cost effective as possible so that we can get through it. But definitely, again, let your children be hands-on with choosing that curriculum, because some children learn more kinesthetically. You can do DVDs, you can do online learning, you can do textbooks, you can do a number of things. So definitely be creative in how you approach the material with your student, because they'll know what they like best, and so they can be helpful in choosing. When you think about extracurricular activities as well as electives, my children have always done sports, they have done dance, they have done a number of book clubs, 4-H club. My son was the president of the 4-H club in our local county. They've done dance, aviation school. They can get a pilot's license as young as 16 in the state of Virginia, and my daughter graduated number 2 of her class and was offered many scholarships, and she did that while she was in high school, and that is a college level course. So there are many extracurricular activities that could also benefit them for coursework on transcripts. And while we're talking about transcripts, there's a number of things that you can do to help keep up with your transcripts, okay? So one of the things I really recommend is writing everything down. Do not leave it to memory, because if you think, okay, I'll get it together by the time we get to the 11th grade, you may forget some of those small courses that you've taken, or especially if they've been half a semester, or just a semester, half a school year, things like that. So you want to be able to write it down, log it, the grades that they have received, and that's going to benefit you in the long run, not having to do such tedious work. Now, you can outsource it. They have many services available for keeping track of your transcript grades, one of which is Homeschool Tracker. That's a great one. HSLDA has a homeschool transcript service, as well as keeping up with your grades. Becca, if you use that, they also keep up with the scores and the grades as well. There are many out there who you could subscribe to, be a member of, and take advantage of their software system to keep up with your grading system. But definitely, if you're nothing more than a spreadsheet on Excel or a Word document, and just input that into the system so that you can keep up with it and maintain it, it's going to be less cumbersome as you go if you keep track of your records. It's not as difficult as you think. You can even Google high school transcript templates or examples and look at that. And so it's not as difficult, guys. We often overthink it. It is a way to find, is it always a way to outsource it, to figure out, talk to another mom, a veteran mom who's gone through ahead of you, who or talk to counselors. Like HSLDA also has counselors who will be available to help answer any questions that you have about homeschooling. And I'm a member of the HSLDA, and they will send you a card in the mail that you could use for your membership card that has many benefits as well. And then know that they are a legal defense program. And so I was trying to think of what their name is, but I think it's Homeschool Legal Defense Association, which is really good for you to stay within the confines of your local laws for your state. And just they're a wonderful resource for overall homeschooling period for testing. And while we're talking about that, testing, standardized testing, there's ways to measure your students' progress, not just testing, but outside of that, you can use a portfolio. You can, of course, have proctored exams where they can go to be tested, or test sites, or even go to local high schools to be tested. Like if you're doing a PSAT or SATs, and I know they have put those on pause given the pandemic situation, and I'm not sure if they will open that back up or how they're going to do it, but you can also do evaluations. You can take your student to be evaluated is also another possibility. You also have home standardized tests like the CAT test, the CAT 9 I think it is called, or California Achievement Test, which is CAT, as well as if your family may feel the need to be to file for a religious exemption. I have many friends who have done that. A lot of my friends are filed on a state as religious exemption. So they're not required to submit their test to the State Board of Education each year. However, even if you do, some of them still test, but I would always recommend testing so you know where your child is. You'll be able to gauge where they are, even if you are religious exempt. So it's still a good idea to test so that you know where they are, what their need, what their strengths are. And of course, if you want them to go into or graduate with something other than a standard diploma, and you want them to have an advanced diploma, or if you're trying to get them into AP classes, or you're doing dual enrollment, there are some CLEF exams that they can take where they can score into college level courses or get the credit for that, which will help them in the long term shorten their college coursework over time. So that's something that you can also look into in any type of accredited program. So like Liberty University also does homeschool programs, so they will offer a number of courses that will not only be homeschool for high school, but also for their college entry level. So look into that, explore that, their tests, transcripts, and there's a wealth of knowledge out there on the internet that you can explore. Or definitely talking to someone like myself who is a consultant in the homeschool community, or just another mom who's just a veteran who has gone already before you and have had these experiences, who can share with you her knowledge about what she has done, because each state is different. But if you have someone that you can ask these questions to, it'll be such a benefit to you to know how to navigate through it. But it's not as difficult. For me, I found that homeschooling through high school has been so much easier. They're independent learners, right? They're independent workers. They get the job done. They're autodidactic, which just means that they're self-taught, they're self-guided, and they're learning, in which I have fostered the entire time for my children to become independent in everything, from home chores to what they, to cooking and to doing things like that. So I started off in the early years doing all the cooking and all the chores, right? But as they grow throughout, I've assigned them so much responsibility that helps to mature them so they can do the things. So now I rarely cook. I may cook 2 or 3 times a month, and they predominantly cook, my other children. And so you fostering this along the way so that as they're in high school, they're so independent. They're independent learners. They know how to study. They know how to do the research. They know how to do the critical thinking. they know how to get the work done. They know how to work through the tough things because our brains are like a muscle, right? The more we use it and the more we struggle through to figure out, the stronger it gets and the more it grows and expands our knowledge base. So it's more important to struggle through to learn and get through a certain concept. That way you'll always have it. It'll be deeply rooted in them versus just, surface level knowledge that they can easily forget. It's like in and out, it doesn't have any stick-to-itiveness. But if they struggle through concepts, they'll really grasp it. And then, like I said, they can really use it moving forward. So I just want to encourage you, moms, you have everything that it takes. You can do this. It gets easier as you go. And it's not as difficult as most people would assume that high school level would be. I found it just a breeze. And I know that's not everyone's experience. But if you just foster along the way that independence, they're not so heavily reliant upon you to get everything through. If they know how to work out their schedule so that they're getting all their coursework done, if they're still working a job and going to school, like my son, when he was in high school, he worked about 30 hours a week, as well as, took on his high school courses, and still did activities. So it just depends on the child, the individual makeup, but definitely foster that independence because it's a safe place for them to experiment with their schedule, their time, their resources, and all of that while they're in the confines of your home, that safe place. So I want to encourage you, you can do it. You have everything it takes to rock your homeschool years. Rocking your homeschool is gonna be a breeze for you through high school, okay? So don't look at it and dread it and drag your feet. And remember, this is something I like to encourage moms to do as well. If there is something that you are intimidated by, like math, you don't have to be overwhelmed because maybe it's been 20 plus years since you've been out of high school, right? And you're like, I only barely remember algebra. I'm not so sure about that. Outsource it, okay? There are co-ops. You can get a tutor. They have online, again, DVDs. There's an abundance of ways to figure out how to get this done without it being all on you. So you can remove yourself from having the responsibility of what you know and then outsource it so that it's a benefit to your student. My children knew far more than I did in math, but I was able to outsource those things in chemistry and lab work. They've done all of those things. It wasn't something that I did, but they learned how to dissect animals and do all of the wonderful things that they would do in a lab opportunity, but it didn't come from me. So being a part of a community is a wonderful thing, even if it's not an official community, but if you would partner with another mom, and then you're able to swap subject matter. Maybe you got a mom who's excellent at math or science, and you're wonderful at language arts or things like that. You can swap out the history and language arts with her, and then you just take turns one day a week or twice a week or however you do it. There's ways of getting it done. Please don't throw in the towel. Listen, keep on going, girl. You got it, or sir. You have what it takes to get the job done. I want to encourage you that you can do it. I am cheering for you and rooting you on. You can get in touch with me on all social media by Kizzy, Staten, Gray. You can find me. But I want to encourage you that stay plugged in to conferences like this, other mom groups and meetings, because it's an encouragement on your journey that you can get the job done. All right now, have a good one.